Good morning, and thank you for joining us for today's call with LNI's Acting Secretary Jennifer Berrier and Chair Gladys Brown Dutrieuille from the Pennsylvania Utilities Commission. I'm Teresa Elliott, Deputy Communications Director for LNI. Before we get started with opening remarks, let me brief you about some format changes to the weekly media calls moving forward. As we get closer to the end of the federal PUA and PEUC programs on December 31st, we'd like to start providing your readers, viewers, and listeners with information from our partners and Commonwealth agencies about other forms of assistance that may be available. Moving forward, our weekly calls will focus on a specific topic of discussion. Today's call will highlight the utility-related assistance and consumer safeguards for out-of-work Pennsylvanians. If you have questions on that topic, we ask that you submit them in the usual fashion by clicking the blue chat icon located in the lower right-hand side of your screen. Please submit your name and media outlet, followed by your question. In the interest of time, you'll be limited to one question, but time permitting, we'll open up the call for a second round of questions on that day's topic. You may submit any additional questions or follow-up questions or general UC questions to us at dlipress@pa.gov, and we will address them after the call. Additionally, we will provide participating media outlets with UC stats about payout amounts, the numbers of calls, chats, and emails answered, and additional background information following the call, along with a link to the recording. For your awareness, this call is being recorded. If you do not consent to being recorded, please hang up now. Let's get started with comments from Acting Secretary Jennifer Berrier. Secretary?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Teresa, and welcome, Madam Chair Dutrieuille. I'd also like to welcome members of the media for joining us on this morning's call. As I know you are aware, last evening, congressional leaders announced that they have reached an agreement on a COVID-19 relief package. The next step is for the House and the Senate to formally vote on the bill, which they are expected to do today, and for ultimately the President to sign the bill into law. What is known so far is that the agreement includes an extension of the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, also known as PUA, and the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, which we refer to as the PEUC. The proposal also includes a renewal of weekly supplemental assistance for unemployment compensation claimants. Governor Tom Wolf and I have urged Congress repeatedly to take these actions for hardworking Americans, including more than 500,000 Pennsylvanians who need these programs to pay for basic human needs like food and housing during this pandemic. After the COVID-19 bill relief becomes law, all states must wait on guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor before provisions of the act can be implemented. After we receive final federal guidance, we will quickly share important updates in claimant instructions. We plan to do that through a media briefing and press release, on our social media channels, also on the Labor and Industries website, which is www.dli.pa.gov, and through direct communications with PUA and PEUC claimants. Once enacted by Congress, Labor and Industry is prepared to swiftly implement the extensions and renewal. The goal of this morning's call, though, is to highlight the options that may be available to Pennsylvanians who are struggling with the financial impacts of COVID-19. Understandably, unemployment compensation is the first program that people think of when they experience job loss or they have a reduction in their hours. But Pennsylvanians need to know that they may qualify for other assistance that's out there. And this is especially important with the COVID-19 cases surging across the country, and also as we mark the official start of winter today and prepare for the dangerously cold temperatures that most often come with it. We are working with our partners like the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission to raise awareness on additional assistance that may be available for out-of-work Pennsylvanians. And with that, I will pass it off to Madam Chair Dutrieuille.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today to give some general information to consumers about where they can find assistance in helping pay their bills. I want to highlight 3 points here today. The first is this year, more than ever, we encourage families to explore all options available to them to keep them safe, warm, and connected to essential utility services. We're moving into winter, and today is the first day of winter of this very unprecedented year. And we encourage our utilities, consumers, businesses, and advocacy groups and all other concerned parties to work closely in the coming weeks and months to help those that are struggling. Second thing that I want to point is that there are several layers in terms of protection for consumers that families can look at who may be struggling to pay their utility bills. And those include the PUC's enhanced protections for residential customers and small businesses. They also include the traditional winter shutoff moratorium to income qualified households, other assistance options like the utility payment plans to address past due balances, budget billing to help prevent large month-to-month swings in the size of bills. There's hardship programs out there, energy conservation programs, and other referral services. There's also the federal program of LIHEAP, which is the federally funded low-income home energy assistance program. And there's a host of voluntary steps that have been taken by our individual utilities. We know that last year, utilities across Pennsylvania spent about $391 million on PUC required customer assistance programs, not counting the federally funded LIHEAP program. So collectively, these utility programs reach over 290,000 electric customers and approximately 160,000 natural gas customers, reducing monthly energy bills, promoting weatherization, and other improvements to help cut energy consumption, as well as supporting hardship programs. The third point that I wanted to bring today or underscore today was to getting connected to these programs may just be a phone call away. It may just be that easy. So we encourage you to reach out to your public utility today. We know that there's some people that have been applying or looking for assistance for the first time this year. So it's just as easy as reaching out to your utility program to look for some type of assistance. You don't have to be an expert in it because our public utilities have that information. They have a team of customer service representatives that are trained to identify and fit the solution that may be able to help you and your household. As part of this year's Prepare Now campaign, the PUC is urging utilities to work even more closely with households and businesses. We're encouraging them to look at income qualified customers who may apply for customer assistance programs. All eligible customers, especially those who may not have been, reached in the past year, should apply for assistance for programs that may be designed to make energy bills more affordable, which include our customer assistance program, but also the low income usage reduction programs and budget billing. We're also encouraging our utilities to remind households about the LIHEAP funds that I just spoke about. Grants under LIHEAP or hardship funds may be available to assist struggling families, and the new LIHEAP season just began November 2nd. We're also encouraging our utilities to exercise flexibility and leniency, especially during this hard time. When establishing payment arrangements, plans for all consumers in consideration should be given to circumstances such as loss or reduced income, extended illnesses of a household member, or increased household size and accompanying expenses. We encourage our utilities to educate consumers because information about conservation and ways to reduce energy usage should be made available to all consumers, and encourage charitable support, increasing corporate donations to and fundraising for utility hardship funds and other community-based programs can assist consumers who may need help with their utility bills. So in closing, I just want to say as we continue to grapple with the health and financial impacts of this pandemic, we know that there are households across the state facing the uncertainty and stress of worrying about their utility bills, including those who may have never experienced problems before. So I urge everyone in that situation to just pick up the phone and call your public utility as soon as possible to learn what options are available for you. Don't wait for the past due bill. Don't wait for any termination notice because we don't want it to get to that point. Just continue to reach out to your utility and work with them to look for a plan for you. We also encourage you to look out for your neighbors and friends. If someone is experiencing problems, please pass on this information to them that what they should do first is call their utility. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair Dutrieuille, for that very timely and important information for utility consumers. I have to admit there was some information you provided that I was not even aware of, so thank you very much. Before we take any questions, I want to remind you of assistance that may be available through other agencies for Pennsylvanians who are out of work or who have had their hours reduced due to COVID-19. First, we have food banks and pantries, which can be found across the state. A helpful list of these and other food assistance resources is available on the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture's website. That web address is www.agriculture.pa.gov. And when you get to their web page, please click on food security. Also, health and other essential needs are available through the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services at www.dhs.pa.gov. And this includes resources for Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, also known as CHIP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, the Child Care Works Program, which also provides subsidized child care, and also the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, also known as TANF. Additional resources and tips, including financial help with credit cards, mortgage, or rent, and mental health resources are available by clicking on the COVID-19 link at www.pa.gov. I'd like to thank you all for participating today. Madam Chair Dutrieuille and I are now available to take your questions.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We're now entering the Q&A portion of today's call. As mentioned previously, today's call is focused on providing information about other forms of assistance available to UC claimants who may lose federal PUA and PEUC benefits on December 31st, with a particular focus on the services that the Pennsylvania Public Utilities Commission provides. So if you have questions on that topic, please submit them now using the blue chat icon in the lower right-hand side of your screen. Please be sure to include your name as well as your media outlet along with your questions. We don't appear to have any right this second, so we will pause just a moment for some to come in. Okay, our first question today is from Joan Napsher from the Tribune-Review. Based on the experience with the CARES Act passed in March, can you, just one second. Based on the experience of the CARES Act passed in March, can you offer a prediction as to when the state might get guidance on new stipulations for distributing the money? Could that be early next year?
So I have to say from previous experience with the Department of Labor, they have been providing us with fairly quick information in rolling out additional programs. I know that we are working with other sister states since we're not alone in this. Pennsylvania is not unique in our situation. We are all working together with other states and the Federal Department of Labor in making sure that we get the information that we need so that we can expediently roll out the new extension and benefits required by this new COVID relief bill.
Okay, it looks like our next question is from Bill Kibler, I believe from the Altoona Mirror. Would you expect that a person in need of utility help would find it easy to reach the pertinent utility company?
Thank you for the question, and it has been very easy to reach them using any information they would have on their bill in terms of a customer assistance hotline. And if they are having problems, we also have a hotline and a Bureau of Consumer Services, and they can reach out to the PUC as well.
Okay, do we have any other questions at this time? I'm just going to pause for a second and see if anything else rolls in. Okay, and we have Aaron Martin from WPXI TV. Do you expect to see an increase in people utilizing these other resources since guidance from the Department of Labor on the latest CARES Act funding could come after December 31st?
Madam Secretary, if you don't mind, I can answer it from the point of view in terms of utilities. What we have seen is we've been asking our utilities to provide us with monthly information to show the comparison from last year at this time to this year. And we have seen an increase in the amount of uncollectibles, a number of people that have not been able to pay their bill. And we also have seen an increase in the income range in terms of mostly our programs previously were before those that are 150% and below of the federal poverty income guideline. That is the reason why we have in our order in October at the PUC put protections in place for those households that are 300% and below of the federal poverty income guideline, because we have seen that increase in need in terms of individuals or households not being able to pay their utility bills. So we do see that, and that's why we are emphasizing in the comments I made today. We have plans out there with our utilities that to make sure that people are not cut off. Our order right now provides that if people, individual households are working with their utilities, they will not be cut off before March 31st, 2021. So there are protections out there. There has been an increase in need in terms of household as well as higher levels of income.
Our next question is from Megan Majinski from CBS 21 for Secretary Berrier. At the beginning of the COVID pandemic, there were issues getting unemployment benefits to people in need. Back then, it was that the PEMA funding system didn't jive with the state's unemployment system. How will this work now? And will this new round of stimulus, how long will it take people to enroll and get their money?
Thank you, Teresa. We are currently awaiting additional guidance on how that additional funding would work. I recall back when through the FEMA funding system, that was a different mechanism than the previous additional compensation that was rolled out in late spring, early summer. So, right now, we don't have a lot of information, but we are definitely looking to acquire that information as quickly as possible so we can figure out how that impacts how we're going to be rolling out the additional assistance that people will be receiving.
Our next question is from the POS reporters, Sam Zern. What guidance are you giving utility companies for how they should be working with clients? When you say working together for assistance, what does that look like?
In general, the utility companies have a great plan and consumer service in place already. What our order provided is the framework in terms of the protection for income levels in terms of the household. What we have been seeing, because they are reporting into our Bureau of Consumer Services, is how each of the companies is looking at their distribution area and working with them. I see many of them that have different commercial ads. Many of them are also reaching out to the individual households directly. That was part of the order, that they would have to give them notice in terms of any changes in protection and also notify them. And so many companies are reaching out to them, whether it's by phone call. Some are even going to putting those hangers on their door to say, hey, just a reminder, just call us. So they're being very unique in terms of the different ways to reach out to their consumers.
Okay, looks like we are now entering the second round of questions. So I encourage any reporters to have additional questions at this time to please submit them now. Follow-up questions from Sam Zern at the POS Reporter. Is that monthly information from utilities available to reporters?
That monthly information is going to be on the PUC's website as part of the docket number from the original order in October. So yes.
Okay, it looks like that's all of the questions we have today. So I'd like to thank both of our guests for joining us. And if you have any additional questions that were not answered during today's call, please email them to us at DOI's communications office at dlipress@pa.gov. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you.